orbiting Earth now, 'cause you're nowhere near to me. Good Sunday morning to all of you over on YouTube who are watching us, joining us this morning. Welcome to the first episode of the Formula Podcast. And we are really excited about today's show. Excited that you've chosen to tap in with us, to join us this morning, and hope that something we say, something that we share with you will be beneficial. It has been a while since we've been in this space, and this podcast is a little bit different from work that I've previously done and been involved in some ways. So I want to, first and foremost, on top of welcoming you, one, let's just kind of ground ourselves with our weekly affirmation, which for today would be that God has not given me the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I do not walk in fear, nor do I allow it to block my power or my manifestations. I yield to the wisdom of the ancestors who see and know the path more clearly than I. I speak to the divine and I am heard. I listen to the divine and I'm guided. I rely on the divine and I am empowered and abundant. I move in the divine and I am successful in everything that I do. I am the divine and I can manifest any and everything that I want. I am manifesting power. I am manifesting strength. I am manifesting healing. I am manifesting abundance. I am manifesting clarity. I am manifesting discipline. I am manifesting everything that lends itself to the emergence of my highest and greatest self. Take that with you. Go back in the video, watch it again, write it down, learn it. Now, before we move any further into the actual podcast itself, I want to, one, give you a little bit of a disclaimer. And I feel like this is necessary in light of the times that we are currently in because of certain people and scammers or whatever. As a disclaimer, I need to be clear with you that the content shared on the Formula Podcast, including all episodes, interviews, discussions, and any related materials, is provided for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing on this podcast constitutes or should be construed as medical, psychiatric, psychological, therapeutic, or clinical advice of any kind. Always consult a licensed healthcare professional, physician, therapist, or qualified mental health provider before making any decisions regarding your physical or mental health, treatment plans, medications, or wellness routines. I have to say that because Dr. Tariq Sankofa, I have a PhD, not an MD. Shout out to Cheyenne Bryant for confusing everybody and making disclaimers absolutely necessary. Okay. All right. So I want you to be clear about what's happening here. I'm not giving you any kind of medical advice. Don't ever make that mistake and, say that I led you wrong. All right. First and foremost, let me welcome my co-host this morning, Mahogany Soul and Yogi John. Let me bring y'all up. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good.
You look good.
Feeling good. Feeling great.
Yes, I'm excited. Excited to be here.
What you so excited about?
Listen.
How's your weekend been?
I lay down, I am thinking of listen, rebellious rest is what I call it. Forget. I'm not making anything more important than the fact that when my body calls for it, I'm going to take it. You be mad if you want to, but viva la revolution.
Understood.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been good. I went up to Philly, came back to say saw some friends from high school and how they were doing and everything, and then came back down. It's funny how like when you see people from your past, it kind of gives you a recharge. It was a real good space, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that I need to see my people every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's important.
I feel that. Speaking of needing to see my people, that's part of the reason why I'm here with you all again. I've done this thing before, needed a break. But in the absence, in the space of absence, I also very much realized that community is essential, that I need other creators and also other spiritually minded people to sit in conversation with in order to learn, in order to grow, and to keep progressing in my life. And so, one day I'm at at the kitchen sink washing dishes, and I hear this little voice in my right ear, as it usually speaks to me in that right ear, and it says, "You know, the reason that you've been feeling the way that you have been is because you're out of alignment with your purpose, and you're not going to feel better until you get back in alignment and start doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is apparently, wow, this." And on the red tip, I will say, Edwina, which one do you want to be called by, Edwina or Mahogany?
Let's go with Mahogany Soul. She has more of a, she's less introverted.
Okay, I'll go with Mahogany. I'm going to shorten it to Mahogany. I won't do MS because that's, yeah. So I'm not going to do that. Right. But on the rest tip, I one of the things that I've been telling myself repeatedly recently is that rest is a form of productivity too. Sometimes in our minds we equate rest with laziness, or we feel like we have to earn it. We feel like I haven't done enough to really sit down somewhere and just rest. You don't have to earn rest.
Absolutely.
And it is not lazy. It is absolutely 100% a form of productivity, just like everything else, because if you're not rested, you can't do anything else. And so I'm learning to like really recondition my thinking, reprogram myself so that I'm not approaching rest from that vantage point. So good stuff. All right, so I think we should go ahead and get on into what we're gonna get into today. I first and foremost, before we go anywhere else, I feel like we need to reclaim some time. How about that? So it is reclaiming my time with all of us. Okay. Reclaiming my time is a brief segment where I want to cover some of the social media and world nonsense that has been taking all of our attention for however long it's been taking our attention, that I really wish we could move beyond and stop talking about, because there are so many other things that are going on in the world. But we tend to, social media programs us into paying attention to dumb shit. Okay. First and foremost, let me go first, because I don't know what y'all got in terms of what you want to reclaim time from. But let me go first. First and foremost, I'm sick of this. I'm not sick of the conversation around how she responded to Touré and the way that she high key made every effort to call that man gay without saying that he was gay. But just the fact that we are still, all this time later, still talking about Cheyenne Bryant. And more than anything, I think I'm just irritated with how long it takes Black folks to get to a place of just accepting, okay, this, ladies and gentlemen, this is a scammer. If not scammer, then why is scammer shaped? Yeah, this is a scammer, and just being willing to let it go. Like, it's so I know that that she was polarizing, and particularly in regard to this conversation with Touré, there's a lot of debate around her stance on parenting, gentle parenting, and whether or not people should beat their kids. Obviously, anybody who believes in corporal punishment is going to, I'm gonna stand by her. You're gonna stick by her because she agrees with your personal politics. But there's so many more important things. Why not? Why not find somebody who is qualified and capable to actually give you parenting advice? Why not?
Why They should just bring they should just, and you should always have an expert, right? Like, if you're an expert in one thing, just bring another expert on. Why act like you have the skill when you don't? When you could just go and literally be like, all right, we're going to go to this person for that right now. It's a simple pan to the left. But I think that, people I think a lot of this has to do with our mindset about like capitalism, how we're always trying to take, right? And that makes you want to appear like you're bigger than you are because it's all sales.
I mean, it's profitable, clearly.
Yeah. But then the damage that's done, or when you're called to the table to present your credentials,
we'll worry about the damage later. We'll worry about the damage later. It's just it says a lot about us, right? I know that maybe, not everyone has access to healthcare. Not everyone necessarily has a therapist or access to a psychiatrist or psychologist that they can sit down and ask these kind of questions. And the internet makes information easy to access. But please, people know you cannot take information from everybody, even me or all of us, right? You cannot take random information from everybody, particularly when it comes to raising your kids. If I'm not mistaken, Cheyenne don't have any kids, does she? Cheyenne ain't got no kids. I don't think Cheyenne has any kids.
I hope she not, with that being a doctor saying what she's saying.
Yeah, Cheyenne ain't got no kids. But if I'm wrong, somebody correct me or whatever. But if I'm not mistaken, that is the case. What were you about to say?
The way that people are coming at this topic, it kind of, I've heard her on viral reels, things of that nature, but I never took it to be someone who, what she was saying, it was because she was the voice of authority on that thing. I think that majority of us are coming at this from a place of opinion. It is when we don't people that agree with us that then stuff like this becomes kind of like a witch hunt. Like, who was really bringing her on? Most of the people that are on podcasts with her have nothing to do with their professional credentials, but they're speaking the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like that show, what is that guy? He always has, I forget. They always talk about different relationship advice. Most of them are just other people. But for
tonight's conversation.
Yeah, things like that is the only place that I saw her, or that ex football player that has a talk show. We're listening to these people because we like to see the conversation evolve. But I think that it is when right now, and this is the first time recently I've seen this happen so openly to a Black woman, but I think it happens a lot to Black men, where who you are comes into question as a witch hunt to try to devalue what you said. A lot of what you said, some of it I agree with, but your discernment is supposed to be the thing that gets you through the static of all of the stuff that you're scrolling through. Why did we ever hold this woman in a position of authority, or is it just fun to say, oh, we found out something private about her, now let's use that in order to kind of demonize? I'm like, we even protected other people from that same situation in a lot of different places. And that's the way I look at it. That's why I'm tired of it, because she's not the only one.
Yeah, I need people to understand, though, that credentials do matter.
They do.
It does matter.
Let me ask you a question about that.
If you go to the doctor and you need gallbladder surgery, and the doctor says, well, I don't really have a license. However, I've watched a whole lot of Grey's Anatomy.
Right. You pay to go
you're
in
not
the
laying down
office
on
for
the table.
that. That's something different. If you just watch somebody on the internet.
So let me ask you this, because I think that this also came up within that conversation about ancestral knowledge and people who are doing things based off of a different school of thinking. And in comparison to, look at all of the doctors that do have their credentials, that have been doing experiments on people and all types of other stuff, but they got they white coat, they got they plaque that says I went to school, but they, there's also discernment needed on both sides, right? Like, I need to not just trust you just because you have your doctorate, or just because you work in
very
building.
true.
So that's another one, is like, and then my other aspect of that is like, maybe we need our own ability to have people who are registered based off of our desires, right? Like our own system. We have the medical association.
You mean off of our cultural systems of?
Yes.
We have that. That's what Iyanla is.
Okay.
Iyanla, has done the study. She has some degrees, but she's also um, an Ifa Yoruba priestess, right? So she has the cultural knowledge too. Um, I'll say that when watching the show, there were many things that I saw on the show that I was just like, okay, now if you didn't have security and cameras, somebody would have been there whooped your ass by now with some of the stuff that you're doing on the show. This is not standard, standard therapeutic practices here, but she was doing things that were cultural practices that got results and worked, but a lot of degreed, credentialed professionals still felt like it was unethical to do XYZ. Anyway, we don't have a whole lot of time to waste here with this. Let's move on. I had two things, but I'm gonna cut because we took so much time with that one. Mahogany, what you got?
The one that I was thinking about isn't necessarily about the case. The case is important. The one that's going around now, with the boy, the guy that was found innocent, Ricky Chow, of killing Cyrus, what's his name? Carmack Belton. My thing is, I feel like we are being rage baited to respond in a different way. There is a stream of consciousness that's telling us to, hold back. Don't take they're waiting for us to be the front line of being about that action. And I think that this is just one of a couple of cases that are going on that they are really trying to bait us into being angry enough to respond the way we normally do. And I just hope that that's not the case with this. I hope we don't start responding that way. And I'm really getting tired of all of the, op-eds that everybody is putting on the internet as if we're further pushing that agenda, I think. And I think we need to go about these things a different way. I'm just tired of seeing that because I feel it inside of myself when I listen to a lot of these things. Like, you are trying to push me to rage, and we can't really get anything done from that place, but we always get pushed there.
Right.
Yeah. I have to be careful what I say right here in response to that. I got to be careful what I say in response to that, because I get it. I know that there is an agenda that is very firmly pushing for a quote unquote race war, wants it to happen, wants us to be demonstrative in a way that would justify and support
slavery,
the racist rhetoric that gets circulated about us. But then I also think about Martin Luther King saying that a riot is the language of the unheard. And I think about James Baldwin saying that to be a Negro in America and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage all the time. And I think about the power structure that we are up against, and knowing that violence is their love language and the only language that they speak.
That part.
So I'll stop there. I'll stop there because far be it from me to be on Beyonce's internet being an anarchist, telling everybody to fuck shit up and burn it all down. But if you ask me off this show how I feel about it,
I feel like
Yogi, what you got? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mahogany.
No,
wait. She wasn't there.
You can fight from a place of tamping down on your anger, and I think you'll get a lot better results than if you go out and let, you know what I mean. No one really cares about your feelings more than you do, but the action, you get about that action. That's something different. This could be strategic. I think that's something that scares me.
I get it, babe. I get it. Sometimes I want to meditate and hold my juzu beads and Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, but sometimes I want to fuck me up a bitch.
Regularly.
This is where I am. Sometimes this is what it is.
Indeed.
Yogi, go ahead.
So I had two. The first one is the celebrities. Just in general, we get so wrapped up in celebrity stuff at the same time that real world stuff is happening. right? Like there's a whole war, there's a genocide going on, yet people are talking about Chris Brown tickets and, you know, right, and all of that type of stuff.
Sick of this one too.
Right. Right. And it's like, even the play off of that, right? The new currency on the internet is attention, right? And so siphoning off attention for what? Like it to me, I think that we're moving in a space where these mindsets are three things to me. It's a triangle, a square, and a circle. The triangle is the pyramid scheme. Everybody's trying to be on the top by siphoning off the bottom. The square is people who are thinking about, hey, we're all kind of equal.
Your mic is messing up.
Can you hear me? Good. Is that better?
Froze and your mic was in and out.
All right. Am I good now?
Okay.
Am I good now?
Mind yours.
Say something.
Can you hear me? Am I good now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So the triangle is the pyramid scheme. That's pretty much capitalism. The square is the more so socialism, right? Everybody should have access to the same things. And then the circle is more like the tribalism, the closed circle, the ecosystem that doesn't need anything outside of it. And so our mindsets, people keep pulling us to the triangle. They keep siphoning off our energy, the attention, rather than us, hitting all the different things with the concern equally. Would I need to give a certain amount of time to politics? Maybe I give a certain amount of time to celebrities, but never give more time to the celebrities than I am to politics or to my own personal life or my personal goals, right? Like there needs to be a kind of a squareness or a equalness to that. But then the circle would be like, hey, I'm only concerned about this because of how it affects me and how it comes back around to me, right? And so we're kind of like so far away from that because they keep pulling us into this pyramid scheme where you take all my attention and then I got a little bit left for me. And what does that leave me with? Like, what am I, you know what I mean? And so that was one. My other one was, are you a serial overgiver? Overlover?
A recovering undercover overlover.
Right.
Okay, Erica. What?
Are you a person who makes everyone else a thief because you pour from your cup freely, and then when you have nothing else to give to yourself, you say, "Oh, y'all stole from me."
I'm in full detox.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna stop right there because because that's a whole other conversation that I do ultimately want to have with you all. Let's pause that one right there. All right. So that's all the time that we're reclaiming. Let Cheyenne go. Go seek professional help. Stop listening to Lil Boosie tell you about what's gay and what's destroying the community. His lyrics destroy the community. It's the same man that will, these people will rap about gangs and trains in rooms butt naked with other men, but that's not gay.
I shoot you in your head, but make you raise your son.
Football player wearing fingernail polish is destroying the world. Yeah. Divest the celebrity culture. Them people don't care about you. And in general, there you go. That's what it is. All right. So we are reclaiming time from those things this week. All right. It's about time for us to transition into Tool Talk. Yogi, you can pick up from where you were. Tool Talk is an opportunity for us to learn some spiritual tools that will lend themselves to helping you get through your day-to-day struggle, helping you to manage anxiety, depression, giving you a greater understanding of what those tools entail, what kinds of approaches there are to them, to utilizing them, and where you can get information on those things. So it's time for Tool Talk.
Great morning, and rich rising. Today we're going to be talking about some tools that'll help you. And the first tool is always what I like to call the base, which is grounding. Grounding is a practice of bringing yourself into awareness of where your body is, where your mind is, just giving yourself a moment to actually feel where you are and focus on you, to kind of push everything away for a second and just get really, really comfortable with yourself. Now, within that grounding, there are the practices of walking outside on with bare feet in the grass or something like that. There's also getting on a yoga mat and just sitting and pulling yourself down. There's also laying down, right, on some flat surface and just kind of just being present and being still for the moment. And I think that what comes up in those spaces as you're grounding are when you try to get back out of it is two things, which is the why and the how, right? And this is where you have to come back to grounding, because in your why and how, they kind of fluctuate, right? Like, are you anxious? And if you're anxious, have you sat with your anxiety? Have you stayed in paralysis analysis, right? Have you sat and asked the questions like, why am I feeling this way? And then when you start to ask those questions, you find that you get into the why and the how, right? So the why is like, where is this emotion coming from? And if I'm grounding, I can kind of be aware of that. It's when I'm in motion that those emotions come up and I don't know where they're coming from. And they might present themselves as anxiety. They might present themselves as fear. They might present themselves as procrastination and so forth and so forth. But if I sit with it and I really get to like, what is this? Why is this happening? Why is this emotion coming up? But that'll start to give me an understanding of it. And then I now can prepare for it, right? I can factor it in. And my how is, do I have a system for being prepared for it, right? I cannot get out of the fact that chaos is a part of life, right? It's something that happens no matter what. So in the why and how, to be prepared for these two things, right? You have to understand that what's happening is there's an engine, your spine, let's say is your engine. There's two things, it's pushing and pulling, forward and backward, left and right, right? The spine has been mislabeled, and it's actually an engine, because it twists and flexes, and that twist and flex is what allows it to propel forward. It allows the arms to move, the legs to move, the neck to move, and so forth and so forth. And those two things, the friction between them, allow us to move forward, right? And in the same way, your why and your how allow you to move forward. And so it's really, really good to understand, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Because there's something called the second law of thermodynamics, right? And that states that the total entropy, or a measure of disorder or randomness of an isolated system, such as the universe, will always increase over time. Basically, in layman's terms, what that's saying is, if you don't add extra energy into something, it is going to deteriorate. So in that space, sometimes we say that grounding is doing nothing, but grounding is actually adding extra energy. It's adding somewhat of a filter, adding somewhat of a system that allows you to handle all these other things. And so the more you come back to yourself, the more you sit, whether you're sitting up against a tree, whether you're sitting in the park, being quiet, kind of pulling yourself away from the chaos of your thoughts, that is part of you balancing yourself and you being able to approach everything from a space that you can handle it all, right? And once you have that, once you start practicing grounding, it just becomes refined and you just reapply it. So if chaos comes up, you can say, oh, chaos is a part of this. I know that that's going to happen. So let me go back into how I've planned for that, right? Which is, oh, I'm just going to ground for a second and let that emotion pass through me, or give it some time to sit with it and find the root of it. And then once I do that, I can give myself some breathing and okay, I'm back in the game. And those are the main points. So writing down your why, writing down your how, because trying to just remember it is not a system, right? What we want to write it down so that we can see it, because when we see it, it's already going in our mind. But if we see it and say it, then it goes in our mind double that much. And if we do that daily, then whenever something comes up, oh, I know exactly what this is. I got my thing that's already, I saw it this morning before I passed out the door. I got to ground for a second, take my 10 breaths, and then from there I'm going to keep moving forward. But that allows us to have a preparation for the chaos of the day, whether it be a random person, you're dealing with your kids, you're dealing with something at work, having a moment to say, oh, I have this tool that I can always reach for and come back to, is where we all need to have our toolbox. And your life gets so much better when you reach for the right tool at the right time. All right.
Thank you, Yogi. Let me ask you, what are your go-to, what are your 3 go-to grounding modalities? What do you do?
Sitting in the car. Sitting in the car is my number one. I will sit in the car and just breathe. Just breathe. That's my first one, and that's probably because I was in a car for a long period of time, driving for living. My second one, yoga, quiet space.
Okay.
And my third is water. Going close to some plants or some water, and just kind of sitting there and being still. If I can get to like a lake or a stream, those are the best. But if not, some Epsom salt in the tub, and get in there and soak, and just stay in there for an extended amount of time. You know what I mean? Until you see the pricklies on you. But just doing that consistently, I've noticed, for me, because everybody has their own different thing. For me, that allows me to like release whatever tension I'm feeling and move through it, or just have the space to like figure out how to move through it.
Yeah. Cool. I favor cold showers as a nervous system reset, and also showering in the dark. Turn all the lights out. That sensory deprivation is really helpful for just like zoning in, focusing on myself. I'm also just learning how to take my time with myself, to slow down.
That part.
This world has trained us all into being fast paced all the time. And I'll be quite honest with you, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, I can't keep up. I can't keep up. I'm 51 now, and I need a slower pace of life. And so I'm learning to identify the places where I can to slow down in whatever ways, and be intentional about that, because that grounds me in the reality of the fact that this is what you need. This is what your life needs. We don't all need the same thing. You can't do what everybody else is doing. You need to move slower, intentionally so. Okay. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. Let me put my big face back up in here real quick. All right. So, that said, I hope that was helpful for some of you. If you have not identified any kind of grounding techniques that you are consistently implementing in your life, start searching for them. I'm finding that the way that you start your day, however, whatever habits and patterns you've established for yourself, the way that you start your day is definitely going to determine and be a major factor in how the rest of that day goes, right? And it can be a bit of a challenge to get out of bed and immediately move into a grounding practice, but it is a habit that you have to sort of discipline yourself. Or let me not say discipline, because I was reading recently the difference between discipline and devotion. And devotion is preferred because discipline is a punishment of sorts. Discipline can be in response to the potential for consequences, but devotion is done out of love. So if you say that you love yourself first and foremost in the morning when you get out of bed, by having a grounding practice that establishes, who am I today? What am I going to do? How am I going to move through this day? What's my attitude going to be like? How am I going to respond to that person that I work with who irritates me? I know I'm going to have an encounter with them. So, what's the plan? If you are a chronic oversleeper who just jumps up out of bed and is flying out the door at the last minute without the opportunity to set all of this in place, God bless you. it will be helpful for you to develop some sort of a practice. All right, thank you, Yogi. It's time for our diasporic deep dive, where we're going to take a look or listen to some diasporic spiritual practices, traditions, rituals, all those kinds of things that may be helpful for you to know about, practice, just be aware of. So let's go into the diasporic deep dive. All right, Mahogany, are you ready? Why can't I see you? Is your camera on? Where are you?
Camera's on.
Let me see. What happened?
Oh, there I am. Okay.
I'm trying to get you in the frame.
You guys hear me okay?
I hear you just fine, yeah, but let me just put all three of us on, and then, yeah.
Okay.
Or
how's that? That works.
Do it this way right here. There you go. Difficulties. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Well,
I'll play with it while you talk.
In today's diasporic deep dive, I just want to start. It's kind of a lead into the conversation that we've been having here. Have you ever thought about like your tires? You can be driving with one of your tires not having enough pressure in it, and you just kind of learn to adjust. Unless you go in and get your tires balanced, you don't realize that you maybe pulling to one side. This is brought to me the conversation behind this book that I've been reading, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And when I first saw it, I thought it was just going to be another one of those things telling you sit somewhere and be quiet. But I think it runs a little bit deeper than that. It's brought to me the conversation about intergenerational static. I think that we are carrying and trying to function at a capacity that does not necessarily exist above and beyond all of the noise that we have going on in our lives and in our heads. Because as we're going through our day, we're not just thinking about what we're experiencing at the moment. We're thinking about the bills, we're thinking about the relationships, the children, all of those things. And if you are starting out with something within you out of balance, then you're kind of pulling to one side and you're constantly trying to pull yourself back to a center that does not exist for you in that space. This is brought to me, like I was reading also Toni Morrison's books and just thinking about how like many of the spiritual practices that go back generations and around the African diaspora, they start with that. They start with the calibration, drum circles and intentional practices, all of them, from lighting candles to pouring libation, to humming, to singing at the beginning of church. All of these were not just meant to be forms of enjoyment or things of that nature. It's more about bringing everyone to the same vibration. When do we give ourselves a chance to locate our balance and vibration? When do we balance our tires? And like you guys were speaking of starting your day with different practices, I think that there is something very important about taking time back for the presence, whether it is deprivation of your senses or meditation or prayer, just something where you can hear that still small voice above all of the static that we have going on in our lives. So yeah, this book is an important way of looking at that differently, from not just the perspective of psychology, but also from your spiritual practices in your day-to-day life. So this has been our first installment of Diasporic Deep Dive. We're going to go a little bit deeper, but I think that there is a very important place to start, and that is just acknowledging that you don't just start. You have to kind of empty out the things that are going on around you before you can go ahead and put anything on top of that. So embracing the power of now is a great place to start with any spiritual practice that you're developing. And it is a part of those that we have throughout our families through history. That's what we're starting today.
Excellent. I really like, and part of the reason why, we're doing this, the main reason why we're doing this particular segment is, and it links back to what Yogi was saying earlier in terms of with regard to psychology and how there are certain cultural and things like that have existed, that have been a part of like mental health and wellness practices for African American people, that we are so distanced from, right? Those sort of ancestral knowledges that we would do well to investigate, to go back and discover like what really is out there beyond what we know to be the traditional prayer, within the confines of religion and things like that, prayer, church attendance. There are other things that as Black and brown people that culturally have always existed and had the propensity to be able to help us heal, but we have turned our noses up at them, demonized them, not sought those things out, not searched our own spirits and ways of knowing for things to see what are we really connected to, what comes up for you that you're actually resisting and discrediting as potentially useful. So I'll definitely, yeah.
Right. I think that's
All
a
right.
big why having a conversation with yourself about what is what is influence that you have before you even reach the conversation versus what is that criterion within you that you learn to identify once you shut off all of the noise, because then you can be more discerning, which is shaping a lot of the conversations that we're having. Who are you listening to? And what is the driving force behind why you were listening to them? Have you created false idols in your life just by believing that their opinion on the subject is more important than that which is within you? And how long are you going to go by that and then blame them for not taking the time to be present in your experience as opposed to following along with someone else's? And the intentionality behind that is what shapes a lot of those different practices. Because if you're not present in the experience that you're having, I think that's why we light candles. Is someplace, a focal point of your attention in order to say, this is where I am focusing my energy. Otherwise, you are kind of like just going through the different motions. But we're going to get deeper into different practices that can be, different intentions, whether you're coming from a place of anger or, you just want to ground or having anxiety. I would like to have those conversations. I think fundamentally, just understanding that we've always, regardless of where they shape it, there's been a requirement to be in the moment that we have long since lost. We have lost. We don't even think fire it. And that's why I think that these conversations about us not being able to relax or things of that nature, we have to really take back our time and attention and focus.
That's actually one of my favorite books, and it reminds me that I have to reread some books that I've read before, because I'm thinking about I remember the emotion of how I felt about reading that book, but when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't remember the chapters or anything like that. I just remember how I felt about it. So I'm gonna have to go back and read that book again.
Right, that's what that means. It's time to read it again.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Mahogany. All right. It's time for Soul Speak, which is essentially the main conversation of the day. I want to bring in our special guest into the studio also to be with us. Hey, Ade. How are you?
Hey.
Hey, Ade.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Good morning. We hear you just fine.
Yeah, we
okay, good. Good. The camera
right.
seems to be moving a little slow, but hopefully it's working.
We can see you. We don't see any delay.
It's lagging a little bit, but you look amazing, so it doesn't matter. All right, so I'm gonna let me see, or you can all just kind of mute yourselves for a moment, and I'll bring you back on in just a few seconds. All right, so Soul Speak is the main conversation of the day, and our in studio guest is Anita Johnson, who is a friend, artist extraordinaire, all around phenomenal human being, writer, all of the things. Ade is a life and spiritual coach, poet, meditation guide, seasoned facilitator, business leader with over 20 years of experience developing people and training leaders. She offers intuitive tarot, medium or tarot. I always say tarot, then I hear people say tarot, mediumship, and a rare brand of guidance that blends the soft power of mindful presence with bold, courageous action. She helps people uncover and embrace their authentic selves. I can attest to this. I've had this experience with her. And then take the inspired steps to bring their deepest visions into form. Art, writing, poetry, healing, wellness, spiritual guidance, meditation, life coaching, all of the things, all things joy. That's absolutely what she's about, and we are so glad to have her with us this morning. She'll be coming back into the conversation, and we'll give her own introduction as well as contribute to this ongoing dialogue that we've been having in just a few moments. But I wanted to introduce her early because my experiences with her is really central to what I want to share with you today. The show is called The Formula. And the tagline for the show is Ascension is the outcome of experience in proper perspective. What does that mean? It means that the work that we're doing here, or we plan to do here every Sunday, spiritual and creative work, is fundamentally about deconstruction. But what we're doing is taking our shared and individual experiences apart, and we're examining the component pieces of those experiences. And from those pieces, we extract the embedded formulas that allow us to leverage every experience, especially the hard ones, for genuine growth. In other words, you're going through the thing, whatever the thing may be. And the question that is always asked in the middle of that is, how can this thing, this experience make me better? There has to be a formula attached to it, because none of us wants to come out of whatever it is that we're going through in worse condition. So that's the scope, the general scope of the formula itself. Now, before we go further, again, this show is not necessarily offering you psychiatric or medical advice. What we're offering you is an opportunity to look at our experiences and our journeys as we are trying to be better human beings and trying to grow spiritually. And hopefully something that we share in our experiences will be helpful to you. With that said, each week at this point of the show, I or someone else will offer a main dish of the day, main conversation of the day. And since this is the first episode, it felt right to me to begin talking about where I've been and what's been working on me, what's been challenging me, and what I have also been challenging in response to that. Today, I really want to talk about communication failure. You'll see that the title of the show today was What We Have Here is a Failure to Communicate. And I'm talking about communication, not the kind that happens between people, not interpersonal communication, but the kind of communication that happens within us. And I'm going to tie all this together and wrap Ade into this real nicely in just a second. But the internal communication that creates the conditions of our lives, the internal communication that sets the limitations we feel bound and restricted by, the communication that determines whether we can access the drive and the energy necessary to pursue anything beyond the dim parameters that trauma and experience carve out for us. What I've come to realize is that our internal communication is what determines whether we succumb, whether we survive, or whether we thrive. Should probably write that down. Communication is what determines whether we succumb, whether we survive, or whether we thrive. Those are three different things, right? Surviving is not necessarily thriving. And succumbing, of course, that's not surviving or thriving. The goal is to thrive. But life doesn't always feel like we're thriving, right? Sometimes we're simply surviving, white knuckling it through the storms, waiting for those storms to pass. The beautiful thing about moving through a storm, though, with a navigation system is that The navigation system can tell you how severe the storm is. The navigation system will tell you which direction the storm is moving from, what's the point of origin, whether there are detours available that can still deliver you to your destination. But only if you understand something crucial. Then the navigation system itself is linked to something far more powerful than itself, a satellite. Something that satellite sees from above what you can't see from inside, right? And because you are situated within the storm, you simply do not have the vantage point to perceive what all of your options are. But the system does. The satellite does, the navigation system does because of the satellite. But it can only work if you are willing to trust it, to activate it, and to surrender to it. So I want to build everything that follows this on a foundation of radical personal honesty. Let me start here by saying, if I'm talking to you today about where I've been and what I'm working through and what you're going to have or be privy to watching or witnessing me grow through, the best way to sum up where I've been and where I currently am is I'm tired. I'm tired. And I know that I'm not the only person that's tired. Our society is in chaos. Technology, as I said earlier, is accelerating everything, and exhaustion is slowing some of us down in response to that. While the country is waging war abroad, it is also deliberately and simultaneously and strategically waging war on all of our nervous systems, because none of us, those of us who have any sense, feel safe right now, right? That's not an accident. It's intentional because it inspires fear, right? And fear has always been power's instrument of choice because it is the seed from which all political control grows, essentially. I dragged myself across the finish line this past semester, one of the most difficult semesters of my teaching career, disoriented, depleted, tired, and beneath all of that, quietly navigating something that I had only recently come to understand about myself, which is the fact that probably a year and a half now, going on 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with adult ADHD. I knew something was wrong. One day I sat down to read, to do some research for an article I was trying to write, and I ended up reading the same sentence 6 times, and I just was not retaining information. Now, to go through that as an academic is disturbing. A person who has devoted themselves to what we call the life of the mind, someone who has, who reads and writes for a living. It was disturbing, but I knew something was up. So I went, got evaluated, got diagnosed with ADHD, and suddenly my entire life made sense. My childhood, all of the things that I'd previously, not really understood about myself, a lot of that it made sense to me. But at the same time that those things were coming into focus and were making sense to me, this new knowledge, while it gave me a little bit of relief, it also put me in a situation where it caused some disturbance because I could see all of the things that needed to be addressed, but didn't know exactly where to start, how to begin addressing them. And those things became overwhelming, right? So you got the end of the semester, you got the world stuff going on, you've got the general spiritual exhaustion of being 5 decades of tired, right? And so in my head, what's happening there is you procrastinate because you're lazy. That's what's really happening. You do this, you operate this way because you're not really competent, because you're an imposter. And one day you're going to get found out. You operate the way that you do because, you're just broken in some kind of way. Those are all the things that were going on inside. It was a nightmare battling those voices. And that battle sent me straight into the usual company: anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome. I became fluent in a language of my own inadequacy. I got trapped in a pattern of defining myself entirely by what I considered to be the worst thing about myself. And we do that. Some of us do that all the time. There's so many good things about you, but those things hold less significance to you than the things that you feel are bad about you. And no matter how many people praise you and how many people give you accolades and say that, you know, you're wonderful and you helped me with this, that, and the other, you can't hear any of that, because in your head, you think you just don't know. You have no idea what's really going on in here behind the scenes. I show up publicly and I do what I need to do, but internally I'm a mess. So you just discredit all the positive stuff that people have to say about you. Horrible way to live. Then I end up going to see a day. Now, this is where you come in. A day, probably a year before that, had offered to do a reading for me. Anytime you're ready. I avoided that reading like the plague, because I was afraid that the information I might get from the ancestors, the divine, God, whatever your language for the divine is, that the information would be too much and that it would be overwhelming. But when we sat down to actually do the reading, it was a day when I hear that voice in my right ear say, book the reading. We sit down to do the reading, and immediately she locks in and just started reading me for filth for like an hour and 45 minutes. Just digging into my life in ways that nobody else could have done. But there was a certain point during the reading in which hearing your ancestors say, tell him to remember who he is. And then she said, Tariq, but you're old. You're really, really old. Like, this is not your first journey. And this is why when people talk about you, you know, you hear people regularly reference this. It is the wisdom of age, right? It's timelessness. It hit. And it made sense to me. It resonated very strongly. But over the course of several days, it started to unfold. That one line stayed with me more than anything else. And when it unfolded, I couldn't ignore the deeper meaning. Somewhere along in my journey, what had happened was that I'd acquired a toxic, life-threatening, even habit of surrendering my soul to my body rather than surrendering my body to my soul. I'll make that make sense in just a minute. All right. And beyond that, the two of them had stopped communicating with each other in the way that they were supposed to. My soul is the very core of my existence, right? It's the container of my spiritual DNA, the source from which all of my personal power and my understanding of my purpose is drawn. And I'd made the grave mistake of surrendering my awareness of who I am at the soul level and my confidence in my soul's knowledge of my entire journey across time. Not just this part of the journey, my entire journey across time knows the end at the beginning. I'd surrendered that to the momentary, often frightened, often misreading, illiterate experiences of my body. Because my body only knows what's happening right now, but my soul knows what's going to happen down the road, right? And when you surrender the soul, that infinite divine knowledge, to the body, that temporal experiential knowledge, what you end up with is a life that is characterized by the pain that you feel and not by the internal assurance that you have access to. So the message that arrived from the ancestors that day, from the divine, whatever, to me was that your body and your mind sometimes misinterpret things based on fear, on history, and on the weight of accumulated experiences. Take you, for example, I am jittery and jumpy. If you walk into a room and I didn't know you were coming, you're not wearing a bell around your neck, and you start speaking to me, this happens all the time around here. I'm jumping, like scared. I mean, legitimately scared. Happens all the time. And my husband always says, you ain't living right, which irritates the hell out of me. But nevertheless, I only recently realized because I was in Atlanta and there was a microphone. I was at an event and the microphone kept popping. Every time it would pop, it would send me into that. And it hit me that, like, this is what happens when you spend too long in survival mode. Your body becomes trained to anticipate some kind of violence, some kind of disturbance, some kind of disruption. I often tell the story and laugh about it that the worst, probably the worst whooping I ever got from my stepfather was the one he didn't give me, because he caught me going out the door that day with a bunch of African figurines that he had gotten when he was in the Navy. I had them in my little book bag because I wanted to take them to school and play with. They were, to me, were toys. But when I picked up my book bag, the book bag said clank, clank, clank. And he said, boy, what you got in that book bag? I said, nothing. Lying, right? He comes over, he looks at my bag, and he sees all the figurines and the statues, these beautifully carved giraffes and rhinoceroses and lions or whatever. And he's angry because I lied to him. And he says, when I get home this evening, I'm going to beat your ass. All day long, I'm thinking about that beating. I get home, I'm waiting for that beating. That beating never came. It never came, but it haunted me. It put me in ready mode, in survival mode. Our bodies, our mind will interpret it based upon the history and the experiences that we've already had. And then our spirit will express whatever that conversation is. The one thing that is left out of that equation is that you never bothered to consult with the soul to see, is this an imminent threat? Is it a threat that is actually going to happen? Is it just an empty threat? Do I need to be bothered and disturbed by what my body is feeling and experiencing? It's not that the body didn't hear the sound. It's not lying in that sense, but the mind is interpreting it based upon experience, culture, history, and other things that have already happened. And then you believe this combination because you do not consult soul. Now, soul would say, I don't care who comes in this room that I wasn't anticipating. I'll knock all this shit over. Who's gonna come in here and beat me, right? Soul has a completely different posture because soul knows who you are. Soul knows your capacity. It knows what you're capable of. But I realized I've been listening to the wrong voice, the one that was telling me that I was insufficient, that I was small, that I was not enough. Some of us do that. We've been listening to the wrong voices, and we also stop talking back to them. I want to tell you that your body does not know what your soul knows. Your soul is not moved by what the body experiences, unless you let it be moved by what the body experiences. Your soul exists to manage the experiences, to filter the information as it comes in through the body, is interpreted by the mind, passed through the soul, and then expressed outward through the spirit, the energetic presence of you that shows up in the world. But when you remove the filtration system from that equation, all you have is the raw body experiences and the lies that infiltrate your interpretation. It's not that you don't really feel pain. It's not that your body is lying to you about you feeling pain, but your body may be lying to you about whether or not this pain is going to kill you. Mm-hmm. It may be lying to you about whether or not this thing legitimately places limitations on what you are able to achieve. You can still achieve and accomplish some things even with the pain. But if you decide that because I'm in pain, because my body is sending me this, I'm just going to stop right here because I can't do it with pain. Soul knows who you really are. Body is not the determiner of who you are. It's only a vessel of experience, a place where lessons are introduced. Your life is not defined by it unless you allow it to be. Then I'm doing yoga after this a day, after you and I had that conversation. And I usually, when I get down to do yoga, I usually have like a mantra going that I'm repeating over and over through each position, each pose, right? And that particular day, I said, well, let me just let soul speak to body. And I said, we're going to be okay. You you feel bad right now. You've been struggling. You've been going through a lot of things, but this is soul speaking to you, body. We're going to come into alignment. And everything that I'm assured of, you are going to feel. And when I finished doing that, and I sat down after yoga to start journaling, Spirit says to me, because your soul knows things that your body doesn't, you have to take out time every single day to make sure that there is communication from soul to body. You're going to have to convince your body to believe what your soul already knows. And you're going to have to do this every single day. What you are experiencing right now in the way that you feel is a failure of communication. You haven't been talking to it. That your body has been telling you. You're going to
Did we freeze?
lost connection and we're reconnected. And so I changed the way that I with that I okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we lost you for about 30 seconds. Okay. So go back a little bit.
Okay. Oh no, I was saying, just reiterating the point that what you have to do on a daily basis is convince your body to believe what your soul already knows. But that means that you really need to tap into and get an understanding of what's in your soul. Ade said to me, remember who you are. Do you know who you are beyond all the labels and systems of this world and this society and the categories that they put you in? Do you know who you are in your soul? In a spiritual sense, not in this world sense. Do you know who you are? Because if you don't know that, then you can't convince the body to believe and be invested in that. I had to change the way that I journaled because I realized that on a daily basis, when I sat down to journal, what I was doing was journaling my body instead of journaling my soul. And when I journaled from my body, I was always writing about trauma and pain and hurt. And so instead, I sat down to journal one day, and the prompt that came to me was, what does your soul say today? And that became my prompt every single day. Now, sometimes I'll give myself space if I can't find it. If I'm listening for it and I can't find it, well, let's go back and start. What is your body saying? Okay, so now what is your soul saying to that? Right? I had to change that because I understood that this is about reprogramming, right? This is an intentional effort to allow, to surrender my body to my soul, and as opposed to things being the other way around. Change the way that I journaled, and also just kind of gave myself permission to lean into being who I really am. So that's generally, I'm going to wrap there because there's some other things that are part of this conversation too. But I think what I'll do is just kind of cover those in the weeks that are to come. But here's the thing that I want to put on the table in terms of like the questions that I'd like for us to contemplate real quick. Number one, who are you? If I was to ask you right now, the three of you, who are you really? At the level of soul identity, can you articulate who you are? Or do you only know yourself through the systems of this world? And then number two, where's my second question? What does your body or mind lie to you about in direct contradiction to what your soul knows? Does that happen for you? Am I the only one? What does your body lie to you about? Because today we're, intentionally challenging some things. And then three, who is currently controlling your journey? Is it body or is it soul? 4, in this moment, what is your soul saying to you? Those are 4 questions that I'm going to ask to the three of you, but then also for those of you who are out in the audience that are listening to this, let those be journal prompts for you as you move through this week. 1, who are you at the soul level? 2, what does your body lie to you about? 3, who's currently controlling your journey? And number 4, in this moment, what is your soul saying to you? All right, I'm opening up the floor. Sorry it took me so long. Nerves, first show. But feel free to jump in. Let's go to Ade first, because Ade is our special guest. First, introduce yourself, and then anything that you want us to know, and then we can leap into conversation about what we just shared. Go ahead.
Tariq, you doing way too much. I'm just gonna start right there.
What I do?
What did I do? Just opened up a whole can of Pandora goodness, openness. I don't even know what to say. I have so many things to say, so I'm gonna you know how I am. I can be a little verbose, so I'm gonna try to keep it really simple. But
that's what you're here for.
Let me just say, and plus you led me in with mahogany and Yogi Ascari talking about grounding, and then spirit. I'm like, I'm I have a lot to say, but I'm gonna keep it simple. So I'm Ade. My government name is Anita Johnson. I go by Ade Anita Johnson because my spiritual name is Ade Aladi. I am I was sitting here writing down, like, what am I? Like, you introduced me beautifully. I thought that was really well said. I lead with Abundant Joy, my, businesses, as well, are Abundant Joy Consulting, Abundant Joy Tarot. And this comes from a place of my own healing, in which the joy frequency literally saved my life. And I mean physically, because I almost died 5 years ago. I was steady in the corporate world. And so this is kind of getting to this concept of the body too, and what the body tells us, because I have literally experienced my spirit, soul, body, everything shutting down. And then having to come to a place of knowing my soul, finding my soul, being in alignment with my spirit and my path, my process, finding my abundant joy to be able to heal myself from the inside out. And it's an ongoing process. It is not a one and done deal. It is something that happens on every level, every day. So there's that. So I am, my business background has been in leadership training, change management in larger organizations. I've done a lot of facilitation of helping leaders develop throughout their career. So meditation, a certified meditation teacher. From a spiritual background, I am the granddaughter of a Baptist minister, the daughter of an Episcopal priest, and I myself am a priest in the Lukumi tradition for 25 years. And Netua Batala. And so all of these things are conveying. And much of my life, particularly before 2020, when all hell broke loose, I lived in disconnected, compartmentalized places. And so part of my healing has been about stepping into my authentic self, claiming, holding, loving all of the pieces and parts of who I am. My business mind, my leadership, my being able to help people to move forward. My spiritual journey that I have been on since, my whole life, since I was a kid, being the little bit of the weird one, always being in connection with spirit, always be in connection with nature, not even really knowing that, and then having that unfold in a really profound way with my journey within the Lukumi Orisha tradition and what that looks like, but also staying very close, connected to all of the other Jesus, all of it, all of it, right? And understanding fundamentally, even as a kid, I used to say, that I just believe that there is one God, and that God is so all powerful and all knowing that there are multiple paths of light. And the goal is to find what your path of light is. Because I have seen in my journey and in my life, many different traditions, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, different sects, whatever, Buddhist, all of it. I've seen people in light in those traditions, and I've seen people in shadow. And, you know, you need to find a path for you that is bringing you light. And I rock with those people who are walking in light, no matter where they are, whatever their path is. It's of no, as long as it's bringing you light, it's bringing you light, you know, because I'd much rather walk with somebody in light over in a tradition that I don't necessarily follow than to walk with somebody in dark who's supposedly following the same practices that I'm following. So that's where I have landed. So anyway, that's another tangent for another day. But that's just kind of a general introduction. And sometimes, you know, I tell people, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, because I have a lot of things. But I was trying to kind of summarize it, and I thought you did it really well. But I think I kind of work at the intersection of leading people to their abundant joy, because I have found that that's what helps me through the work of spirit, breath, creativity, and community and leadership. So that's kind of who I am. I'm just going to take a breath.
I'm trying to think of the word for an individual who is, I mean, in church they call them ushers, but like maybe, so is it spiritual midwifery? Yeah. Are you a spiritual doula? Like in terms of like helping to birth people's potential. Go ahead.
It's more of like, I think of it more of like, because I can't birth what is already there. So to me, it's more of like a mirror, perhaps a mirror, a door opener, right? Someone to help you lead yourself back to yourself, because of all the, as you spoke about, all the chaos, the static, or somebody was speaking about, maybe it was a Mahogany, who was talking about the static, you know, and I was thinking, when she was speaking, I was thinking of, you know, one of the breathings that we use a lot in meditation, obviously, is the box breathing, right? Where you breathe in, you hold, and then you breathe out. But the first part of that box breathing, and I usually use it, I don't always do the first part in speaking it in the meditation. But the first part of the box breathing is to exhale everything that you have in you, release everything that's in you. And when you were talking, Mahogany, that's the first thing I thought of, like in terms of grounding, connecting what you were talking about, and Yogi was talking about, the sense of grounding, the sense of like, you need to be able to get out. And sometimes we get stuck in that spot. That first step of the box breathing, right? Is you're exhaling everything out, and then you can begin to inhale, right? And then you're holding, then you're in a space of holding, right? And then you're exhaling. And then the last step is you're holding again. You're holding the exhale out, right? And then you go back in. And so as you were talking, but this is where my brain was going, right? I was just thinking about this process and how this is often can sometimes be a part of what our journey can look like. But in the process, I think some of what the work that I do is people are stuck in the first exhale, right? The first release. They can't get all of that out. And so they're steady trying to bring in, but they're already stuck, right? With all this excess. So what I try to do is to shine a light, and I need people to do it for me, because it's easier to do it for other people than it is to do for yourself. But I try to shine that light, right? And say, the reason why this looks a little confusing right now is because you over here doing this and doing this and doing this, and your spirits are trying to guide you over here, you know? And some people also get frustrated because they feel like they've done a lot of work, right? Like we've done a lot of work. We've done the therapist. We've done the, you know, those of us who have, not everybody has, but, you know, those who have, we've done the reading the books or trying to do the breathing or trying to do the yoga or trying to do that. And what people forget is that this is a journey. And it's a secular process. So oftentimes you think, why am I here again? But if you've been doing the work, you're arriving back at a place that looks familiar. But you're arriving back at that place more fortified, ready to face a higher level of that lesson, so that you can then go to the next level of your own personal evolution, right? And so it's like, it feels harder, but it feels harder for a reason. So you got to keep pushing through it. And when you get to the other side of that, you're going to have that next level of release. So anyway, so I'm trying to kind of sum up, because honestly, I am still, this has been something I've been doing, but the process of integrating all of who I am and allowing what God and my spirits have shown me and allowed me to do, to be able to touch people in certain ways, to fully come to form, to get out of my own way, right? Stop trying to, just let it be what it is. And that's a lot of what my own personal work is. It's just being able to say, even you saw probably in the reading, I was like,
at the same time,
what I feel.
At the same time you were telling me to remember who I am, you were also actively working through coming into full consciousness and acceptance of who you are. One of the things that stood out to me in what you were saying, especially with the box breathing analogy, is that I was thinking to myself, like, it is impossible for you to inhale and exhale at the same time for a reason. In order for you to take in, you have to be willing to release something first, right? And in the connection to the conversation regarding body and soul, right? Oftentimes, a lot of times that involves releasing the information that we may have processed and integrated into how we live our lives that is prohibiting us from being able to really inhale the truth of who we really are. Like, until you are willing to clean, to go in and get rid of all of the misinformation, you don't have room or space to receive new information, right?
Yeah.
I mean, am I making sense or not?
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And I feel like this is why I love being able to do the connections I'm able to do, because people are we're all on our own unique journey, and we're all at different places of that journey. So it is, it's not I who do the works, right? Like I don't do the work. So but the blessing of being able to show up and be a vessel for that is, there's no words for it, honestly, like to be able to help people in that way. And so I wish I was just totally independently wealthy, because I would just be somewhere, sitting and helping people, but in that way I try to do it, because abundance, it's deep the way God works and abundance works. And abundance is not just about money at all. Actually, it's not money. Like, abundance is not money. And actually, that's a very when you talk about going back, okay, so I'm gonna go down the whole thing, but that goes back to, like, as a people, like, we understood that money was not our abundance. Abundance was community. Abundance was love. Abundance was the fruits of the harvest and labor, like, right? So so we have been indoctrinated into a capitalist world where this green bill has taken on almost the prophecies of the divine, and it is just not that. But anyway, I'm gonna let you take back hold, because I have a lot to say.
No, listen, there's so many places that we can go, just based on that alone, and even in terms of, like, not being able to recognize ourselves in a spiritual level. Like, this is a historic phenomena. When you look back at the Atlantic slave trade, and you look at how the Native Americans who were here, and the enslaved people who were brought to this country were treated and were moved into slavery, part of that was to suppress all of their spiritual systems, right? To take that spirituality away from them and make them dependent on, okay, and the rest is history. All right. But where did Yogi go? Did we just lose him? All right. So, but
I think
there he is. Okay. Yeah. Having said that, though, I'm also thinking about one of the other things I told you. I changed the journal prompt. One of the things that came out, because you were talking about how I'm not responsible for the readings. I'm essentially open myself up and what comes through. Sometimes I journal that way. And in the process of journaling, I looked down on the page one of those days, and what I had written was, stop allowing your body to trauma dump on your soul. And I was immediately like, what? Stop allowing your body to trauma dump on your soul, because yes, you've been through a whole lot of things, but all the stuff that you've been through, that doesn't define your life, and it definitely doesn't define who you are. But if you are allowing the experiences of the body to override the voice of your soul, which is trying to tell you, you know, you're more than this. You know, you're old and ancient. You know, you got more wisdom than you give yourself credit for. You know, you don't ever really have to question whether or not you're capable of doing whatever it was that you came up with the idea to do. The only reason that you have the idea is because another version of you exists somewhere down through time in the future that is reaching back through time to tell you, hey, do this because you can. I've already seen you do it. But when you allow the body to trauma dump on the soul, it essentially suppresses the voice of the soul to get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
What say the rest
of y'all? And
yet
the soul is big enough to handle all of that, right? And yet at the same time, I agree with you, but at the same time, the soul is big enough to handle all of that. Right. To receive that. So you want to change your experience. If you want to change your experience, it's best you give way and space for the soul to be more dominant in your experience and in your guidance.
Right.
Because the body's like, it's interesting when you said that before, I'll say this and shut up. I was thinking, because from a somatic experience, I was like, well, actually, like the body really does tell us, well, the body is more truthful than the mind. And so the way I thought was like, okay, the body is more truthful than the mind, and the soul is more truthful than the body. Right. So it's like, and we talk about having to have a mind, body, soul connection. That's what you were speaking to when you were giving your piece of like, how do we get that soul, mind, body, soul connection? A lot of people stop with the body. They might get to the point of, oh, I'm working on a body mind connection, which is good. Right. But you got to bring in that next layer of the body, mind, and soul. Right. So that all of those pieces can be evened out.
Indeed.
Yes. So essentially, the body has the experience. The experience is real. The experience is true. The mind then interprets it. That interpretation might not always be, you know, a bullseye, but you have two options. You have to run this experience through both mind and soul, as we're saying, to figure out then what to express through spirit, because the spirit becomes in the outward not performance, but presentation of yourself based upon how you have interpreted these experiences. So you have two options, but the problem is that many times we only consult with one. We'll just go with mind, and mind is programmed into, like the analogy that I was given, into defense mode, safety and security. It can be, and that's not the case for everybody or whatever, but some of us get stuck in survival mode and to the point where we are processing everything through survival instincts, when in fact, in the situation, there may not actually be a threat. But you will live like it.
Right.
Okay.
And from an action standpoint, I just want to say, because I need to stop talking, but I just want to say that one of the things I really liked about what you said there, Tariq, earlier as you were talking, because I'm also really about action. When I do the readings, I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. Because a lot of times we'll be told, oh, well, we need to connect with our soul. Well, what does that mean? Okay, you know, how does one connect with their soul, something that is intangible, something that we can't, like on I'm trying to go to work, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? So I think it's really important. And I love what you said about how you just started journaling. What does my soul have to say to me today? And to get into a place of trust and knowing with yourself, to begin to get familiar. You can't nobody know your soul like you, right? Like, that's you, right? So you have to listen. So that's where all these things we hear, like, well, be still or breathe or do these things. It's only so that you can slow yourself down enough to hear what you already know.
Right.
You know, so that's what it is. To hear what you already know and to be in the practice of that. So I love that you had said that, because if people are looking for, well, what are they talking about? Like, how do I get a hold of myself? First of all, it's an everyday, it's a journey. You're on it, and different things will happen, and you'll find different things. But you know, on a basic level, you're just looking for something to do today. Get up, take some breaths. You know, write on the page. You know, like, what does my soul have to say to me today? And just automatic write. Just see what comes up. If nothing resonates, do it again another time.
Know that your soul will never lie to you. It does not know how. It does not know how to lie. Now, this body, though, my body knows how. All right, I've said enough. Ascari, I'm sorry, Yogi, Mahogany, what you got? Jump on in.
I think the body knows the state. The body knows the state of where you are. It's calibrating to the quantifiable information that's going on around you. You know, but I think that's the importance of those other methods of translating it. Yeah, I think that's important. Uh-oh, he's muted. You're muted.
I don't think we can hear Yogi.
A couple different things come to mind when I think about what we're talking about. Because ultimately, I think that the soul is the watcher. And so the reason why the soul is unaffected is because it's not in the experience. It's watching the experience. And the soul is kind of like this wisdom, right? This, like, I'm just sitting back watching you go through the motions. And whenever you're ready to listen to me, I'm here. And so, like you said, how do we get in contact with the soul? Going back to what we talked about, grounding, it's time, right? Whatever you, there's a story about the child who asked his father about anger and peace. And he says, anger and peace are like two wolves. And he says, well, how do you get, and he said, whichever one you feed. So the time that we spend, some people will say that, you know, getting to know God. Other people will say getting to know yourself. It's getting to know in relationship with Source. And the more time you sit trying to call Source, the clearer the connection becomes. And so I think about that in the relation of, like, well, you trying to call Source, but it's kids running around in the house, and it's fights outside, and it's, you know, all types of distractions going on. And how do you block that out? I think that is actually the spiritual practice, the blocking out of everything else and getting a clear communication with Source. And I think that's an ongoing practice. It is something that sometimes, like we talked about, you need to sit in the field, in the nature. Sometimes you need the drum. Sometimes you need to hum. You know, all of those things are blocking out and creating a resonance, right? When you get into the science of it, we're creating the resonance to get back to the tone, the homing frequency.
Yes.
And how do we create something that we do consistently that allows that to happen? And that becomes our religions, our spiritual practices, right? Like, what is our thing that we do that makes us feel like, oh, I can hear myself now, or I can hear Source right now. And it's different for everybody, because again, we're different spaces, different things, different options. We don't all have a lake that we can go and just sit by the lake. We don't all aren't close to the ocean. We aren't all close to forest or parks, right? So it becomes a thing of finding your own instrument, your own ritual, and not necessarily that you have to adhere to anyone else's way of doing it. You find your own way. I think that's also one of the craziest parts about our experience, is that there's so many people telling you how to have the experience.
Yes.
And there is no one way. There's one road to source, but there's, it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Indeed. I agree with that.
Okay. I don't know what you just said. Apparently, I guess Wes whenever he gets on the PS5, the Wi-Fi throughout the house and everything is just, so I missed everything that you said, but I watched the play. I want the others an opportunity to respond to that, and then we're wrapping up. And Ade is going to tell us where we can keep in contact with her, do bookings, etc., and then we'll be out. We're trying to be time conscious and be out here by 11:30 each week, but this is the first show, so we're a little bit over. Go ahead. Any more responses?
Good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Just fill in a line.
Okay.
I'll say, is there a way to? I have made a little, because I got all these little socials or whatever. Is there a way to post it somewhere? Did I just put it in the chat or something?
You can post it on page.
I think you should be able to put it in the chat. And then we can also, when we upload the video over on Instagram, YouTube, etc., we'll put all the information there as well in the description. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll send you that, but I'll give you guys a quick thing. So first thing, I just want to say I'm at Abundant Joy Tarot. You'll have all my website information there if anyone is interested in a private consultation. I did just start an Etsy shop for people who may be interested in a quick, smaller reading. But my live readings are booked through my website. And also tomorrow, I'm also an Insight Timer because I'm a certified meditation teacher. And so Insight Timer is a free app. And I just launched, I have on there a 12-step series. So there's a meditation for all the 12 steps for anybody going through any type of recovery process that I encourage people. These are all free for right now. And then I also am just launching, it doesn't look like it's live yet. It's been uploaded. They hopefully will make it live tomorrow. But a 7-day, it's interesting because you were talking about it earlier, Tariq, about the morning. So it's a good morning possibility, 7-minute meditation series that will be on Insight Timer. It will be live. So there's 7 days that you can get up, get on there first thing in the morning, take 7 minutes to just breathe and check in. And we start with possibility, and then there's peace and gratitude and some other ones. But so to launch that, so tomorrow and every day next week, starting tomorrow and every day next week at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will go live on Insight Timer. I will lead the guided meditation live and then give journal prompts, and people will be able to set their intention for the day. And the reason why that time seems so random, I was trying to make it also possible for my West Coast people, even though that's 6:30 a.m. for them, if they wanted to start their day right away with that. So I'm just trying it. It's my first time doing that. Please come and join me again. As I said, it's free. You can find that on the Insight Timer. I'm listed under Ade Anita Johnson on Insight Timer. If you go to my profile there, you look under events, it might just show up, but if you look under events, you'll see the first couple of days have been listed there, and you can just click join for that. So those are the things that are kind of coming up right now. I also have an ongoing that I've been doing for 5 years, a global Black writers community called Colors of Light, Black People Write. We consistently meet every Friday, and we write together. I give prompts, we share, and just try to uplift people in all genres. So those are kind of the quick ones there.
Wow.
We gotta get all the links so we can just put it up with the post.
Yes. So wonderful. This has been a
Good
joy.
stuff.
and a pleasure. I love chatting about all things soul and all things joy. So thank you for having me, and I'm wishing all the blessings and all the light and
You'll
all
be
the love
back.
for this podcast.
Thank you for coming on.
You will definitely be back. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
we hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you'll definitely. Yeah, nerves. I was up. I've been up since 3 a.m. I was up just kind of working on my remarks for today, and just did a little too much. But you'll be back with more space to talk, and maybe a reading. We can do a reading on, we'll see. We'll talk about that. We'll negotiate on that. I want to thank all the people over in the chat. I don't know, maybe this was a Wi-Fi thing too. I'm just now seeing all the chat messages that have come through. I see a lot of familiar faces, people who previously were with us when we were doing Self-Care Sunday. I appreciate y'all showing up and supporting. If you would like to support in other ways, because I take Cash App, Zelle, EBT. You can Cash App us at $ Tariq 43, TARIQ, the number 4 and the number 3. We would greatly appreciate your financial support. All this stuff does cost money. The Restream service, all of the services that are involved in all the graphic design, everything costs some money. And this spit ain't free. So make sure that you go over to Cash App, hit us with a little something to help defray the cost so that we can keep giving you all of this good content. Also, if you are interested in being a potential guest on the show, if you are a writer, I have some spots coming up on our future shows in which writers who have books, writers who have platforms that are doing well, that they're trying to get the word out about, just hit us up. You can email us at the Formula Podcast, the number 26 at gmail.com, right there at the bottom of the screen. Send us any samples of your writing or your performance or anything that we would need in order to be able to evaluate whether or not it's a good fit. And then we'll start working on getting you actually booked. It's not a guarantee that everybody's going to get booked or how soon or how fast, but we definitely are interested in seeing who wants to be on and making accommodations for that. Also, we are looking to respond to mailbag entries at some point. So if you've got mailbag questions, scenarios, please don't ask us stuff about your sex life, because if we want, I would rather.
We can.
I mean, if there's nothing else to ask about, then whatever. All right. Let me just remove that disclaimer. Then send your mailbag entries in to the email address, the Formula Podcast 26 at gmail.com. And also, if you are interested in potentially working with the podcast in some whatever capacity in the future, hit us up. Let us know what's out there. I think that's it. That's it. Yeah. No. Yeah. Did I forget anything? All right. A day. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you, Yogi. Thank you, Mahogany. We did it. We got the first show off the ground.
First one out there.
First one is done. So now I can go sit down somewhere and try to calm down and relax myself.
And ground.
Why I've been so and ground.
And ground. Just some box reading.
Why I was so up in arms about this. But anyway, we'll see you all every Sunday here at 10 a.m. on YouTube. And I guess we'll be broadcasting out to Facebook and other platforms as well. We're building as we go. Be patient with us. Patreon is coming. Merch is coming. All of the things are coming. But work with us. And in the meanwhile, answer those questions that I gave you for your journal prompt. Work on those things this week. If you have responses that you feel comfortable sharing with us, I would love to hear or to read some of those in the email. And if you're comfortable we can potentially anonymously share some of the responses to those questions as well. And that's it. We'll see you next week. Y'all have a good one.
Are we doing any things that any events and all of that?
What you mean?
Any event announcements?
Oh, I didn't get any.
Okay. Well, I have.
Go ahead.
I have a discussion going on every Monday called "The Responsibility of Erotica," which will have different poets come in and discuss their experience as a writer and as a performer of erotica all over the country. It'll be two artists and myself, and we'll have some questions and get into the nuances of
threesome.
There's the nuances of the experience of being an erotic poet and all the things that come up when people are having.
He froze. People that are having threesomes, I think, is what he was about to say. There's some. I think that was the last line.
And if I can just add in, if you guys are comfortable, meet us over on the Facebook page, and we can have this engagement and this conversation throughout the week. I think that would be interesting. Yeah,
yes.
The Formula Podcast Facebook page is available. Thank you all for joining it, and we can take up this conversation. And I think that would be good as well.
Spread the word too. Let some other people know about that the podcast is on and that we'll be here every Sunday. All right, y'all. Have a beautiful week. Be intentional about everything that you do. We will see you next Sunday. Love you much. Be abundant. Be great. Be unafraid. Be your authentic soul self. Hey, welcome back, Yogi. I told him about the threesomes. We good now. Bye.
Well, everybody. See you next week.